Hello friends, welcome to Science for Juniors with me, SRK, and like always, my lab assistant Binny is late for the lab.
Hey Professor, how do I look? Am I not looking pretty?
Yes, you do. But what is this? How come you so flowery today?
The plants that Mom planted some few days back have started giving flowers. So here they are.
Oh, your mom loves plants. Nice. I'll surely come and have a look at your garden.
Sure, Professor. There are many plants and most of them have flowers. Mom does scold me when I pluck them, but I love it.
You know why does your mom refuse?
Why?
It's because plants have life in them.
What? Plants have life?
Yes, and flowers are the reproductive organ of any flowery plant.
What are you saying?
Well, let's learn about flowers today, shall we? Let's begin with a virtual tour today. In this module, you will learn about the different parts of a flower and their functions. The flowers are the organs of sexual reproduction in flowering plants. They bring about sexual reproduction through pollination and fertilization. The flowers may grow singly or in clusters called inflorescence. These flowers are held at the end of the stalk. The stalk of an individual flower is called a pedicel, and the one on which flowers grow in a cluster is called peduncle. The tip of the pedicel enlarges into a cup-shaped structure called receptacle on which the other parts of the flower are born. The other parts constitute the four whorls: the calyx, the corolla, the androcium, and the gynoecium. The outermost whorl on the receptacle is called the calyx. It is made up of sepals. The sepals are leaf-like parts that enfold and protect the flower when it is in the bud stage. The second whorl of floral parts is called the corolla and is made up of petals. The petals are the modified leaves, which are the most prominent part of the flower. They are brightly colored and attract insects for pollination. They also protect the inner whorls of the flower. The androcium is the collective name for the male reproductive organ of the flower, the stamen. This is the third whorl of the floral parts. Each stamen consists of a filament and an anther. The anther is made up of two lobes. Each lobe contains two pollen sacs. The pollen grains are produced in the pollen sacs by the process of meiosis. The fourth whorl of floral part of the flower is the gynoecium, which is made up of one or more units called carpels. Each carpel consists of an ovary, a style above the ovary, and one or more stigmas. The stigma is a swollen structure at the end of the style which receives the pollen grains.
Oh, I didn't have any idea that flowers had so many functions.
Yes, that's the beauty of the flower, not just its bright colors.
It's fascinating, just like me.
What?
Beauty with many functionalities. Anyways, how does it happen? Tell me more.
Sure, my self-obsessed Binny. Let's zoom into the virtual world to learn more about the modes of pollination. There are various modes of pollination. Insects often take part in the transport of pollen. The eyes of insects are particularly sensitive to the blue and yellow wavelengths of light. Therefore, insect-pollinated plants are often yellow or blue. Insects also have a well-developed sense of smell. So insect-pollinated flowers usually emit a pungent smell. However, these are not necessarily pleasant. Stapelia, a desert angiosperm, attracts flies with a smell of rotting meat. Birds such as hummingbirds are also efficient pollinators. Flowers pollinated by birds are usually red to yellow in color because birds are most sensitive to light at this end of the spectrum. In tropical countries, bats are important pollinators. Bat-pollinated flowers emit a smell similar to that of fermenting fruits. Their petals are usually dark. Certain plants are pollinated by neither insects nor animals, but by wind. Wind-pollinated angiosperms produce great numbers of often inconspicuous flowers that release huge quantities of pollen. This group mainly includes grasses and many trees.
Oh, so the butterflies and bees that sit on flowers actually help in their reproduction.
Yes, look at these pictures. They help in the process of pollination as pollen grains stick onto their feet or body and it gets deposited at the stigma.
Oh, wow! It looks so pretty.
Just like you, Binny.
Oh.
Just kidding. Don't you want to know what happens next?
Yes, definitely.
Let's enter beautiful world of flowers again. Fertilization in flowering plants starts with the mature pollen grain and a mature ovule coming together through pollination. The pollen tube comes out from a pore in the wall of the pollen grain and keeps growing rapidly down the style. The cytoplasm and the two nuclei, that is the vegetative and generative nuclei, pass into the pollen tube. As the pollen tube grows down the style, the generative nucleus of the pollen grain divides by mitosis to produce two male nuclei. As the pollen tube enters the ovule, its nucleus degenerates and its tip bursts. This releases the two male gametes near the embryo sac. One of the male gametes fuses with the ovum or female gamete to form a diploid zygote. This process of the fusion of the male and the female gametes is called fertilization. The other male gamete fuses with the two haploid nuclei in the center of the embryo sac to form a triploid nucleus. This fusion of the male gametes with different structures at the same time is called double fertilization. Double fertilization takes place only in flowering plants. Post-fertilization, the zygote divides and develops into the embryo of the seed. Second, the triploid nucleus divides and develops into the endosperm. The food stored in the endosperm provides nourishment to the developing embryo. The ovary and the ovules develop into a fruit.
Professor, so does the flower have both the male and female reproductive parts together?
Some flowers contain both male and female reproductive organs in them, and some may bear only male or only female reproductive organs.
Okay, so both reproductive parts may or may not necessarily be on the flower, right?
Exactly. Now, let me tell you about some interesting facts in the Do You Know section. Do you know the characteristics of insect-pollinated flowers?
No. What are they?
Insect-pollinated flowers have sweet smell and bright colors. They produce nectar and have sticky pollen grains.
Oh. What about the wind-pollinated ones?
Those are small in size, not brightly colored, very light pollen grains, and the anthers hang loosely and they don't produce nectar.
Oh, the pollen must be light enough for them to be transported through wind, right?
Yes, exactly. And another interesting flower is the Amazon water lily.
What's so amazing about it?
The flower is white the first night it opens and turns pink to purple after it has been pollinated.
Wow, that's so cool!
Alright, let's have a quick recap. Flowers are the organs of sexual reproduction in flowering plants. The reproductive organs of a flower are the androecium and gynoecium. Each stamen consists of filaments and an anther. Each carpel consists of one or more stigma, a style and an ovary. The male gamete fuses with the ovum or female gamete to form a diploid zygote. Well, I think you have learnt a lot for today. Your mom is gonna thank me for this.
Yeah, she definitely will.
Why don't you go home and have a look at all these beautiful processes happening in nature? Oh, my beautiful Binny.
I know you're kidding. Anyways, I'll go to my garden and see.
No, Binny. You are very pretty and charming. Now don't get disheartened and bid everyone goodbye.
Bye.